Hello student, this video lecture is prepared for the heat transfer subject and I will discuss the unit number 5, that is known as the heat transfer equipments. So in previous lecture I had discussed about what are the different parts of a shell and tube heat exchangers, and we will continue with that part. That means we will first discuss what are the remaining parts of the shell and tube heat exchangers, and then we will discuss the classification of shell and tube heat exchangers, and then one by one we can discuss the different types of shell and tube heat exchangers. So let us start the lecture. So at the end of lecture we have having shell side and tube side passes. So the passes, I already told you that what is the use of pass. With the help of passes we can change the direction of flow in a shell and tube, and the passes are generally used to obtain higher velocities, longer path for the fluid to travel without increasing the length of heat exchanger, and by using this we can increase the high heat transfer rate. So in that lecture also I have discussed that there are two types of passes, shell side passes and tube side passes. So when the passes are used in a tube side, it is called a tube side. When it is used on a shell side, it is called a shell side passes. Now when there is no passes are used in a heat exchanger, that is called a single pass shell and tube heat exchanger, and when the passes are used, that is called a multi-pass shell and tube heat exchanger. So first we discuss what is the difference between these two. So single pass heat exchangers are generally simple in construction. Multi-pass heat exchangers is a complex. Obviously we are adding some flow paths or passes in that heat exchanger. So the construction is become complicated. The second case is not actually difference. The flow may be parallel or counter current in single pass, or in case of multi pass also we can use both flowing system, that is parallel flow or counter current. So parallel flow means both fluids are flowing in a one direction, maybe hot and cold, and in counter current flow both fluids are flow in a opposite direction. Then third one is that it is relatively inexpensive. That means cost of the single pass shell and tube heat exchanger is less. And in case of multi pass the cost is higher, so it is called expensive. In case of single pass heat transfer shell and tube heat exchanger, the heat transfer coefficients are relatively low because the flow is obviously not a turbulent, so therefore the heat transfer coefficient is low. And in case of multi-pass there are turbulence created in the heat exchanger, so which will increase the heat transfer coefficient. For a given duty means for a given output or for a given condition, the floor space requirement is a large. So in single pass we require large floor space, that means space required for that heat exchanger. And in multi-pass the floor space requirement is low because we are adding, without increasing the length, we are adding the passes in that heat exchanger. So the floor space is required is low. Friction losses are low obviously because there is no change in direction of the fluid, no turbulence is created, so friction losses are low. And in case of multipass shell and tube heat exchanger, friction losses are higher because the fluids are flowing in a different direction or different pathways. So it will create the larger friction. Then obviously when the heat transfer coefficient is low, the heat transfer rate is low in single pass and heat transfer rate is high in a multipass. And in case of a single pass heat exchanger, the fluid flow once through the heat exchanger, and in case of multipass shell and tube heat exchanger, the flow of fluid may be flow depending upon the number of times, means 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So that will be depend upon the number of passes. So in case of single pass, the fluid is flowing only once time in the heat exchanger. In case of multipass, the fluids may flow many times in that heat exchanger. So these are the some points. From that points we can compare single pass shell and tube heat exchanger and multi-pass shell and tube heat exchanger. So as in a previous slide I had discussed that there are two types of passes, tube side passes and shell side. So tube side passes are generally added into the channel side. So this is actually, we can say, the side view. From side view we can observe this. So single pass means there is no flow path or partition is added. So here the fluid is passing only once time. Tube side passes means tube passes means two. There are partition, means plate is added here. So it is called a two pass. Then 4 pass. If we look at here, there are 4 passes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here also 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times liquid is passing through this tube side. And 6 passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 times the liquid is passing in the tubes. So it is called the tube side passes. Note that these tube side passes are provided here. That is provided on channel. Okay. So here you have to make the partition depending upon their application. And in shell side passes, that means you have to add pass partition on the shell side. Okay. So here this is the shell. So you have to add the shell. So if we add here, so the fluid is passing through this nozzle. It will come here and change the direction, and then it will goes through this outlet provided. So this is the shell side passes. So it is a 2 passes. So 2 times fluid is flowing in this direction and in this direction. 2 times in a shell side. And here the liquid is or fluid is passing on a tube side. So that means in these tubes, depending upon their passes. So I will show actually diagram. So that will clear the idea of that tube side passes. So if we look at here, so these are the pass partitions, or just a plates are added on the channel. So this part is called a channel. That is the end of that heat exchanger. That part is called a channel. So pass partition plates are added here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times liquid is passing in the tubes. Here also 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times is liquid passes. So in this way the tube side passes are added at the channel. Then depending upon passes provided on the tube side or shell side, the name of that heat exchanger is given. For example, suppose 1-2, that means 1-2 shell and tube heat exchanger. Sometimes it is called 1-4 shell and tube heat exchanger. And sometimes it is called a 2-4 shell and tube heat exchanger. So what is the meaning of that? How we can call the heat exchanger 1, 2, 2, 4, 1, 4 like that. So here, if we take 1, 2 shell and tube heat exchanger, this one number is stand for shell side passes. So this number is stand for, always note that this number is stand for shell side passes. And second number is stand for tube side passes. Suppose I am giving the name of that heat exchanger is 1-2 shell and tube heat exchanger. So what is the meaning of this? The shell side fluid flow once through the heat exchanger and the tube side fluid flow twice through the heat exchanger. Then it is called 1-2 or 1-2 shell and tube heat exchanger. So always note that first number is stand for shell side passes and second number is stand for tube side passes. Suppose for example we are having 2-4 shell and tube heat exchanger. So in this case the shell side fluid flow twice, because here 2 through the heat exchanger, and the tube side fluid flow 4 times. So this number 4 is stand for tube side flow in the heat exchangers. Okay. So here I will show you. This is actually 2. If suppose this is the 2-4 heat exchanger, so 2 times shell, and we have to use this 4 passes here. So it is called a 2-4 shell and tube heat exchanger. And if we use like this system only, suppose here, so there is no pass partition here, then it is called a 1-2 shell and tube heat exchanger. Okay. So in this way you can remember the naming of the heat exchanger. Okay. So here I will show the different photos of the shell and tube heat exchangers. So now the different parts of the heat exchanger is over. You have to just look at how this heat exchanger looking from the inside and outside. So these are the tubes, these are the baffles, these are the tie rods, these are the nozzles. So from outside it is looking like this, though this part is called a channel. Okay, so these are the supports. So this is also one of the figure, and this is also one of the figure of the shell and tube heat exchanger. That means there are number of shell and tube heat exchangers. So this photo is obtained from the refinery. So here we have completed what are the different parts of the shell and tube heat exchanger, and we will discuss what are the different types of that shell and tube heat exchanger in the next lecture. Thank you.